Hello, my name is Ajay Divakaran. I'm from SRI International. Um, Along with my co-authors contributed equally to this work. First, Aparna Sridhar, and the other, Dr. Ramya Srinivasan from Fujitsu Research of America. We will talk today about broadening the AI ethics narrative with an Indic art view. Incorporating interdisciplinary perspectives for AI ethics is very important because we need to situate technology within human, social, and political goals. Our paper is focused on the arts that have the potential to transcend the limitations of dominant ethical paradigms that have come from the sciences and economics by showcasing plurality of values and emphasizing procedures over outcomes and the importance of participatory design. Art from non-Western contexts has not particularly informed the FACCT community. We feel that non-Western art can uncover novel and unique ethical abstractions that would be relevant in local geographies and provided a much needed alternative to the usual Western perspective. Art forms from India definitely offer a promising avenue since 17% of the world's population lives in India. A common function across Indian art is the transformation of the artist and the audience through the expression of art. In other words, any artistic expression is a joint act between the artist and their audience, and the art form provides the vehicle for such transcendence and thus offers the opportunity to think about ethics as a shared experience as well. Our research methodology consisted of posing two questions to 16 participants drawn from Indian music, painting, dance, traditional geometric flow drawings, etc. The first question was, what kind of ethical abstractions can we learn from Indian arts? And the second question, can Indian arts shed light on new forms of participatory approaches that can be useful in the AI pipeline? We then ran a case study through the Indian dance creatives, the Natya Shastra, written centuries ago, and analyzed potential pathways for enhancing AI ethics. The insights we received from our participants on question number 1 were as follows. First, recognize that intelligence has multiple dimensions and incorporate empathy. This goes back to the shared experience that we referred to earlier. Second, objective rules might be useful baselines, but subjective experience has to be incorporated to include all stakeholders. We know that everyday decision making is not merely based on rule-based abstractions, but makes use of past experiences, ancient knowledge repositories, formal education, etc. A better understanding of these would help us characterize ethics in AI systems. Finally, notions beyond fairness, such as restorative justice and those based on moral foundations, can better address local, cultural, and geographical contexts. The second set of insights comes from our second question, where the first one was that recognizing and respecting subjective viewpoints is an essential requisite in any participatory framework. Next, subjective viewpoints are inherently dynamic because they vary based on person, place, and time. And therefore, we have to develop new participatory paradigms based on understanding the broader socio-cultural settings, the domain-specific requirements and challenges, and finally, striving for harmony despite differing stakeholder opinions. Let's look at the Natya Shastra and look at some essential principles that it lays out. The first principle it lays out is aesthetics in the form of rasa. Rasa can be thought of as mood rather than emotion. Remember, we had talked about art being a shared experience, which means that this rasa has to be shared, so we need an infusion of empathy. And one potential machine learning pathway is to use intervention-aided reinforcement learning. Next, we come to the forms of abhinaya, which means acting. And acting is considered inherently multimodal in the Natya Shastra, and therefore the pathway would be to explore the potential of audio-visual signals in understanding causal attributions and AI accountability. The next principle is sadharanikarana, which means looking at multiple instances and finding a unifying theme without destroying the uniqueness of each instance. And that's what we mean here by adaptation without annihilation. It is our belief that neurosymbolic techniques and causal models offer a way to harmonize principles and specific instances and the uniqueness of specific instances. Finally, we come to the Guru Shishya Parampara, which is basically teacher-student relationship. And that leads to the notion of consistent lifelong learning. And we feel that approaches such as knowledge distillation techniques and student-teacher models offer a strong pathway towards developing the overall notion of consistent lifelong learning. Our study certainly has limitations. First, it is a breadth-first study, therefore it doesn't delve deep into any given art form. It also reflects our own limitations as both authors, as well as the limitations of our interview participants. Next, we are only addressing a subset of the larger requirements of ethical AI systems. And finally, note that we are focused on just one non-Western art form. And then within that non-Western art form, we have really restricted ourselves to a large subset of Indian art. So in conclusion, we would point out that exclusion of non-Western perspectives overlooks the values and principles of important communities and thus misses the broader historical, cultural, and social narratives that they bring. Art has the potential to illuminate these and to act as a bridge. Our study inspires the following insights. First, we need to incorporate empathy in ethical artificial intelligence algorithms. Second, we need to integrate multimodal data formats to have more holistic understanding of ethical AI. Third, we should view AI ethics as a dynamic, diverse, cumulative, and shared process rather than as a static, self-contained framework. This would ensure that there is adaptability without annihilation of values. Finally, we would emphasize consistent lifelong learning to make sure that the AI is current and yet is consistent with underlying values. We would like to thank FACCT for giving us the opportunity to represent traditional Indian forms in this forum. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much again.